Hi guys, and welcome to another The Beginner Experience video. Today we will talk about buffs, debuffs, and the effects that change your character stats. So I will link, as usual, the reference, which is the wiki, DC Legends wiki. It's a public source of information that anyone can contribute on. And I will talk about what a single buff or debuff can affect your character. There are the most important thing is the buffs that will change your values. So stamina's up, agility's up, int's up and down. I will go over there pretty quickly. Every change in statistic will just increase or decrease the effects of those stats. So let's say we have 2 stacks of strength up. It will increase the physical damage, so the normal damage that one character does. If you have strength down on a physical character, let's say Harlequin Magister, she will do with her first less damage that she used to do. On the other hand, intelligence is used for special damage and special damage defense. It will increase your healing power, so characters like Superman that has a special damage move will benefit from intelligence and will benefit from strength for his first kit, and will benefit from the healing, so intellect on this heal, because it will gain another heal. So the higher the int, the higher the overheal, the higher the int, the higher is the special damage, and the strength will modify the normal damage. So damage to an enemy is normal damage. Special damage is modified by intelligence. You can have up and downs that will increase or decrease your damage. And the last, let's say, defining traits we talk about, it's agility. Agility affects defense. A character with agility up is much harder to hit with normal damage, while a character with agility down is easier to hit and will take more damage from physical and normal damage. Intelligence will affect all the special one. So you have seen in the past month where Etrigan and now Starfire can do a lot of damage to character like Bane or Cyber Superman and the like, because not only for the affinity, just because they are character with a pretty low intelligence trait. And that means that, let's take Bane, he has just 1000 intelligence, so his damage is diminished less compared to, let's say, you have seen Adrian attacking maybe your Constantine, and Constantine has such an high intelligence that provides some kind of defense to it. So that's the 4 characteristics that the 3 strength, agility, intelligence, that will define your damage output and your damage control in reduction, if it's strength or intelligence or agility for the general armor in other games. And 2 other stats that can be modified are the HP and the speed. Those 2 change. Speed deserves a discussion on its own, and I will go about it later. HP can be modified in 2 ways, with this stamina up buff and with the health up buff. There are 2 kinds of buff. Stamina up is the one that is given by Lobo, for example. He gets stamina up when he taunt. here. He gains, as you can see, stamina up that increase its overall pool, while and it will scale with their level, while health up is the one that very few have, and the like of Doomsday, because he is awesome. He will here. Sorry, he gets this stamina up, but it's more of a static health increase. So maybe they changed this because sorry. But again, it's just the increase in your health pool, a static increase in your health pool, nothing more, nothing less. Then we have some, let's say, more subtle modifier, which are crit chance down and crit damage up and down. As you can see, we have the crit chance down and crit chance up that increase the chance that you crit, and they are on a diminishing return because the increase, let's say you get one crit chance up, the benefit that you get from that is more than the one you get from two, because you will reach a point where the crit chance up is just a roll and it's capped at 100%. So when you are, let's say, at 17%, the increase of 20 points is just that, a flat increase. But if you get a 5% chance over 100, it's not 1/4 of that increase because you already are nearly the cap of that. And this may, if you got to choose, it's better to apply crit chance, crit damage up or crit damage down in this case instead of crit chance, because as I said, crit chance has a diminishing returns. Crit damage will instead increase the modifier damage that you get from a crit. So it depends on the character. It will start usually around 100%, and it can be 150 like Doomsday or Superman. And as you can see, their kit it's different, and some guys have a pretty low crit chance but scale crazily with crit damage. For example, Superboy is one of the highest crit damage modifier, because it will do a lot of more damage if he can constantly crit, but his low crit chance means that he will never crit, or he has just a 21% chance, while the guys known to be crit machine like Green Arrow here has a lower modifier but an increase percent to hit, so to crit, so it's 41% compared to the half of Superboy has, but the damage that he shows when he crit is lesser. So Superboy, for example, can become some good damage dealer if he can constantly crit. And this is what we are for the, let's say, basic modifier. Talking about, let's go in order and leave speed as the last one. Talking about modifier, about the affinity circle, where physical do more damage to mystical will do more damage to energy character, and energy will do more damage to physical. You have affinity resistance up and down that will decrease the amount of damage, obviously, that you get from a lesser affinity, so or increase it. So let's say you have Doomsday that can choose to get one strength up and agility up versus one affinity up. So I'd rather get a flat strength and agility compared to the ability to do more damage to reds, because the strength will in any case increase the damage it does on the reds. But in some other case, like the hated penguin, the fact that he applies Christians down, and he can apply the affinity, where he is the affinity resistance up, means that it becomes more and more difficult for you to damage him, and that's the relation. And if you want to go in deep on resistance up, resistance down, or damage affinity up and affinity down. Affinity down is not really a buff right now. You can just check on the wiki. You will have for any of them, you can click any of them and you will be brought up to the page where it's described its effect and who applies them. Be warned that maybe some pages are outdated, but this is it. The agility is down and up, we talked already. Attack power down, reduce the attack power. What attack power is the value that you get from some piece of gear, in this case AP, and it will increase the modifier on your damage. It's something that you will really not consider that much because it's not that much common, and the modifier is maybe something that you can not consider. Awareness is a special kind of shield that's given on a character, and it will just once prevent all kind of damage that he gets. So if you have your Starfire doing AoE on turn 1, and on the other side you have someone like I don't want to go for Deathstroke, someone like Martial Manhunter that applied at the start of the battle awareness to the whole team, they will get just no damage. When they get damage, they will lose 1 stack of awareness, and when they have none, they will start getting damaged as normal. Awareness has been reintroduced with Deathstroke rework, and it was on a long cooldown, on a long duration. It's infinite or 999 turns. But as I said, you just poke it and you completely remove it. If you have some attack that do 2 kind of damage like this does special damage and through damage, you will remove 2 stacks of awareness. So for every part of an attack that does something, you will remove 1 stack of awareness. And if you have someone like Cheetah, for example, attacking with his normal attack, 1 Deathstroke that has 10 stacks of awareness, she will remove 1 stack when she hits him or he prevents the damage. And then she will apply the bleeds. Bleeds are awesome at removing awareness because every stack of bleed, each stack of bleed will remove 1 stack of awareness. So she will remove 5 stack of awareness when Deathstroke takes his turn. She will remove 1 at the start when she attacks and 4 after that. Same goes for Siren on all the breeders. And as we are talking about bleed is a special kind of damage that just does a fixed percent of damage. It will scale with their health, so it's good at lower level because maybe you are fighting in gear 8 against a gear 10, and the bleed damage that you will do, it's always the same scaling with their gear. So if they, let's say, take in gear 8 100 damage, they will take in gear 10 150. Just it's the same, it's a fixed percent. Same goes for as a fixed percent the opposite of bleeds, which are mends. Mends is the opposite of bleed. It's a fixed percent of healing you receive at the start of your turn. So at the start of your turn, you can get some damage from bleeds and some healing from mends. And you have seen this thing with Bane. It's important to consider the order that the single buff has been applied. It has probably happened to you that sometimes Bane just heals for a lot, then takes some damage from bleeds, then heals again, then takes some damage, because the bleeds and the mends are applied in different times, and they will process at different times. So buff and immunity and debuff immunity, it's two kind of buff or debuff that prevent you to take buffs or debuffs. The most known debuff immunity girl is POT. She's awesome in what she does. She applies the debuff immunity on all character when she uses Power of Truth that she can use with her leadership randomly and whatever. And it prevents any kind of debuff to being applied on them. The strange things that debuff immunity will purge the buff immunity, and vice versa. Buff immunity will purge the buff immunity, but it won't purge the debuffs that are on the character. So if you have a character with, let's say, 10 bleeds and she applies just the buff immunity, the 10 bleeds will stick, but the character won't be able to take more. Same goes for buff immunity. If they already have, let's say, mending or damage immunity, they will get the buff immunity, but the buff that they got, they will stick. You have seen this many times on my stream on Superman against Red Robin. Maybe I was taunting, Red Robin would go for an attack from an invisible state, he would apply the buff immunity, Superman cannot taunt anymore, but they will just he will just keep his buffs. Call Assist is not really a buff. It's an ability that some character has to call for an assist, literally, from someone in your group when some condition is met. So this, for example, is Call Assist if he has awareness. That means that the called target is one member of your group that, and this is important, it's not stunned. It will use the very first skill. So if I call an assist for Martian Manhunter, he will use his Martian vision on his target. And if I call Killer Frost, she will use Ice Spear and so on. The first skill is the one that's called as an assist. And you have to consider that it has been changed that a call assist cannot be call another assist. So you won't have, let's say, Martian Manhunter into Al Jordan that calls an assist with his first, into Harley Quinn quite vexing, and so on until the end of days. It's been cut down. You can only call assist once. And moving on, we have crit chance down, crit chance up, crit damage down. We talked about this. There's this special kind of crit immunity buff that completely negates crit. So it's like having 0 crit percent and not being able to crit at all. It's brought by character the likes as Hawkgirl or Aquaman is the most known crit immune giver. On the other hand, damage immunity is the same as awareness, but it just doesn't get removed by an attack. So until you purge that buff, or you have to have it wear down, a character with damage immunity is completely immune from any kind of damage, be it from a debuff like a bleed or from normal damage, special damage, whatever. You have to take in mind that you can apply buffs and debuffs on a character that's damage immune. So if Superman, for example, triggered is damage immunity, here damage immunity skill on his leadership, you will be still able to apply bleeding on him with Chira. And maybe in a turn or two, when the damage immunity fades out, he will take that damage. Damage resist down is the same, is the opposite of resistance. Resistance is brought by, again, Aquaman, and it's a percent reduction of the damage that you take. It's not that common. The other two immunities are death immunity and enrage immunity. Enrage and enrage immunity. Enrage is that immunity is just that. A character with that immunity cannot die in any way. And enrage immunity is the opposite of enrage. An enraged character is he is called an assist. He will choose randomly an attack, preferring the one with taunt, and he will use his first skill. So if my Aquaman is enraged, he will only be able to use randomly his Might of the Ocean. Rage immunity prevents that. Just that. Evasion down and up are abilities that allow your character to evade attacks. So characters like Siren, for example, has a chance to gain evasion up when something happens. Or the most known offender is Harlequin Magister, that starts her turn with evasion up and 6 evasion up and taunt. You are forced to attack her if there is no other taunter, and she has 6 evasion, making this pretty difficult to hit her on turn 1 unless you have some kind of it chance up. We'll talk in a second. Evasion down is the opposite of that. Makes a character unable to evade, and it's brought by the like of Starfire, or maybe Steppenwolf is one of the well-known bringer of evasion down with his 3. So it prevents someone to evade, literally. It's pretty simple. And we have tested with my alliance the percent of evasion up, and it seems that each stack of evasion is 10%. So a character with 8 stacks of evasion up has a 80% chance to evade, and so on. I think they are not additive, so 6 stack is not 60%, but they are maybe multiplicative. Consider the stack that you get, but we have to further test it. We have like 200 instance on defense and on offense, but we will check it more. I will leave ill immunity and stun for later because it deserves a different discussion. And we have each chance down and each chance up. This is the same as evasion, but on a, let's say, a redundant skill. Each chance up make it easier for you to attack one character that has evasion. Again, Steppenwolf is a bringer of each chance up, while each chance down, brought by the likes of Scarecrow, Batman Beyond, and the like, is the reduction of a character to it. So it's like applying evasion on your all opponent teams, because that single character cannot hit. Again, you may avoid this. For example, if you have a character with each chance up, it will get easier, like the defender has evasion down, and they are on 2 different effects, because there are characters like, for example, Steppenwolf that care about evasion. Starfire that care about evasion. Okay. So if the character has each chance down, your character, she doesn't apply the 17% chance, but it only cares on the defense. Steppenwolf, I was talking before, has this buff your group when double the buff when there are evasion up on the opponent teams. But if the opponent teams is all it chance down, he won't get double buff. Invisibility is a kind of buff that makes your character unable to be attacked, and it's the opposite of true sight. We'll talk about that in a second. Random attack cannot attack an invisible guy, and retaliation doesn't work on an invisible guy. There was a bug some time ago where the likes of Power Wheel could retaliate on invisible guy, but it's not. Call assist doesn't work on invisible guys, so if you attack with your aforementioned Martian Manhunter on an invisible guy, because it's the only one in the game, no one can come and assist him because it's invisible. So the active character can hit the lonely invisible guy, but random attack, he will hit randomly because it seems it's bugged. For example, Etrigan won't attack an invisible guy with his 2. And you can only use the first part of a skill, the active part of a skill. Revive is not a buff. Like shield, there's no buff like this. Silence prevent a character. It's like enrage. It allows them to choose their target, but they can only again use only the very first skill. So it's like a redundancy on enrage. They are limited to their first skill, and they can only use that. Silence immunity, on the other hand, prevents this. They will be able to play normally. Speeds down, we have said that we will leave them for later on. We have Taunt. Taunt is a special skill that forces you to attack that character. Again, the well-known offender in Harlequin Magister is a well-known taunter, and taunter come from the old trinity of games where you have an healer, a taunter, and a DPS, and their role is to protect and defend their DPS and healers behind them. Some characters, for example the new Starfire, benefit a lot from the taunter being damaged, for example, and maybe the healer healing that taunter, and so she can unleash the damage with her skill. Or maybe some character benefit from being damaged as being a taunter because they will gain some damage immunity. And in my opinion, you want taunters to be as slow as possible, especially if they have some kind of short taunt, so for one turn, or damage immunity or awareness or whatever on them, because the less turn they get, the more effect the taunt has. And taunt is, like invisibility, negated by True Sight. True Sight is a special new buff brought by Superboy the first time, and the most famous True Sight giver right now is Red Robin. He will allow you to negate the effect of taunt and invisibility, allowing the character to ignore that. So if I have on my opponent team an Harlequin Magister and I give True Sight with Red Robin to, let's say, Etrigan, I can ignore Harlequin Magister and attack whoever I want, be it invisible or visible or whatever. So it can work on taunt, it can work on invisibility. True Sight is the answer to that. An invisible guy, as I said, if it's the only character in the board on some team, it's able to be attacked like it don't have any kind of invisibility. And there is a nice interaction, nice interaction when you have an invisible taunter. The taunt supersedes the invisibility. So if you have an invisible taunter and all the other guys are visible, you are able to attack the taunter anyway, because taunt supersedes invisibility. That's something that you can maybe experience if you decide to bring, let's say, Harlequin Magister and Clayface. Clayface will give invisibility to everyone, but Harlequin Magister or Power Girl will have the taunt, so they are able to be attacked. Keep that in mind if you use DOJ and so on. So we have stun, turn meter down, and healing immunity. And speeds up. I want to talk first and quickly about speeds down and turn meter down. They are basically some way to interact with the turn meter. When you have a character that has, let's say, Superman 122 speed, you can speed it down or speed it up, and it will get more and more turns, one after the other. Same goes for turn meter up and down. It will lose some turn meter. Turn meter is the let me get into a fight, for example. Turn meter is let me take one team. Sorry, here. Turn meter is the yellow circle that you have around your characters, and it means that your characters, you know the order of your characters. For example, the first one is Red Robin. He has full turn meter. I will give turn meter up to Red Hood with this skill, which means that my Red Hood, which would have been the last one to go, will go next because it will fill his turn meter up. And he has a special skill that reduces the turn meter on your opponent. So if I kill this blue guy here, as you can see, their turn meter has been reduced to 0. And this happens every time I kill someone on my opponent's turn. So let's see, their turn meter is 0. Red Hood is horrible in this kind of situation for your opponents, because they may never get a turn. Because every time you kill someone, and you may have seen this in PvP, you will apply turn meter down, which, as I said, it's static, and it's a way to reduce their chance to do something. Here I will skip my turn because I want them to get some turn meter. For example, that Black Lantern Acolyte just got some turn meter. I will go on and attack that guy. She lost completely because of Red Hood leadership. So let's clear this wave and go for Necron. So turn meter up is a static increase of turn meter. You have seen that with Red Hood, while turn meter down is a static decrease in that. I'll clear them all and then I will proceed. As you can see, Necron has a little bit of health, turn meter. Right now I will kill one of them and they will lose that turn meter. As I said, it's static, and so 15% turn meter is off the yellow bar, while 25 is a fourth, and so on. Speeds up increase the speed where the speed that you get turn meter. So one character that has 100 speed can get turn meter, can get a meter, let's say, every once in a while a character with a double of that speed, it will take 2 turns while that character is taking 1. You maybe have seen character like Grundy being pretty slow and getting turn meter up when they die and rest. So as you can see here, Necron would be the next one. If I apply turn meter up on my Harlequin Magister, she will be the next one. Now it's Red Hood, then it's Necron, and so on. And by using ES2, proccing this, Red Hood got back some kind of turn meter up because there were bleeds on Necron. So turn meter up is one of the most important buff that you can have on a character. It's not visible in game like the little icon you can see on the characters, but one of the most important and well-known turn meter manipulator is Chira, that will give turn meter up to your full team with blood in the air, that can proc with ambush killer when you kill someone, and so on. And this is 25% turn meter up to everyone, which reminds you of another broken character, Green Arrow here, that reduces turn meter up for all your enemies. Same goes for the new Kido, that reduces 25% turn meter for all your enemies. And the turn meter manipulation with speeds up, speeds down, or TM up for your group and TM down for there is one of the best tactics you can have in this game. For example, one of the most well-known turn meter manipulator is Mirror Master and Captain Cold. He has the chance to apply speeds down and turn meter down to your opponents, completely locking them out of the game. In conjunction with Captain Cold, see here, he can just destroy opponents. And I left stun and healing immunity for the last, because they are the trickier to understand because of one interaction. So healing immunity means literally that one character cannot heal. So if I have, let's say, healing immunity on Mira here, okay, she applies healing immunity on a target. So the target, on the other hand, if she has some kind of ways to gain up that health, he cannot. But the most important usage of healing immunity, and it's known as of late because Lobo and Swamp Thing, is the ability to shut down the revives. A character with healing immunity cannot revive in any way. Sometimes it bugs out and Swamp Thing rests them, but that's another thing. So healing immunity will shut down revivers completely. And stun, on the other hand, is one ability, let's say Killer Frost here. Stun is an ability that says the character that gets stunned cannot do any kind of an animation. I will go in a second on that. And is unable to take his next turn. So when the turn of the target happens, he will just skip it. So he will fill his turn meter and then he will pass. It's important because many characters has passives that triggers with an animation. For example, if you have a stun Superman, he cannot use its Kryptonian physiology here because it's an animation. If you have Clayface, which is on 0 life, and you stun him, he cannot use this passive ability because it requires an animation, and so on. So if you don't have any kind of healing immunity to shut down Clayface from resting or cheating his death, stun him. If you stun him, he will lose that ability to rest up. Same goes, as I said, for Bane. You may say that Bane has stun immunity sometimes, but Bane, when damaged, has a chance to use Venom injection, healing himself and getting buffs, mans and whatever. Stun will prevent them from using any kind of passives that requires an animation, and they cannot be called as an assist or any kind of other stuff related. So again, I will leave that's it. I will leave the link to the page of the wiki where you can find those kind of information. If you click on any of this buff, you will be brought to the page where there's a discussion of which character applies. Sorry, this is let me take another window. Sorry, window capture. Okay. So you will brought to the page where it says you which character applies the stun immunity, where you can get it, or maybe which one applies strength up, and so on. So you know that strength up increase the strength by increasing their damage, their normal damage, and these are the characters and the skill that applies that strength up. So I hope that it worked and it's helpful for many of you. Remember the interaction with healing immunity on revivers, and the most important, the stun on animation, because it's like that next level thing that will help you win games out of the blue. Thank you for listening, watching. See you in the next videos or on stream as usual on Sunday, and I hope before that. Bye bye.